Fleet Commander Xendaris of the Hegemony War Council watched with satisfaction as his scanning arrays locked onto the lone human vessel, drifting helplessly in the void. The ship designation Wanderer's Hope, according to their databases, appeared to be nothing more than a disabled research vessel. Its engines dark and its hull scarred by what looked like recent combat damage. "Perfect," Xendaris murmured, his six-fingered hands dancing across the holographic interface. "A single human ship, cut off from their fleet. We'll finally get the intelligence data we need to crush their pathetic resistance once and for all." The Hegemony had been at war with humanity for 8 months, ever since the humans had refused to surrender their colony worlds for integration into the galactic order. What should have been a swift conquest had turned into a frustrating stalemate, with human forces employing unconventional tactics that confounded traditional military doctrine. "Initiate deep-level scan," Xendaris commanded his sensor operator, a crystalline being whose species had perfected the art of technological espionage. "I want to know everything ship specifications, crew complement, weapon systems, communication logs, even their personal data files." Sensor specialist Crixtal's multifaceted eyes gleamed as she interfaced directly with the scanning array. "Beginning comprehensive penetration scan now, Commander. This should take approximately." She stopped mid-sentence, her crystalline form suddenly rigid with shock. "What is it?" Xendaris demanded, noting the sudden shift in his specialist's demeanor. "Commander," Crixtal's voice was barely above a whisper, "I'm reading the crew manifest for this vessel. There are 12,000 individuals aboard." Xendaris blinked in confusion. "Impossible. That ship is barely 200 meters long. Maximum crew complement for a vessel that size would be..." "Sir, you need to see this." Crixtal's hands trembled as she transferred the scan data to the main display. The holographic readout showed the interior structure of the human ship, but it wasn't what Xendaris expected. Instead of the typical arrangement of decks and corridors, the vessel's entire internal volume was filled with what appeared to be thousands upon thousands of cylindrical containers, each one precisely climate-controlled and monitored by sophisticated life support systems. "Cryogenic suspension pods," Xendaris breathed, understanding beginning to dawn. But why would a research vessel? The second wave of scan data hit the display, and Xendaris felt his primary heart skip a beat. The pods didn't contain random crew members or colonists. According to the biometric data, each pod held individuals with specific genetic markers, psychological profiles, and skill sets. Scientists, engineers, teachers, doctors, farmers, artists, but not just any representatives of these professions. Commander Crixtal's voice had taken on an edge of growing panic. These aren't just random humans. The genetic diversity indices are too perfect, too carefully curated. And the psychological profiles. Every major human personality archetype is represented in precise proportions. As more data streamed in, the true horror of what they were seeing became clear. The ship's databanks contained not just the life experiences of the 12,000 individuals in cryogenic sleep, but comprehensive backups of their memories, knowledge, and cultural information. Genetic samples from hundreds of thousands of other humans. Seeds and embryos from Earth's entire biosphere. Manufacturing specifications for everything from basic tools to advanced spacecraft. "This isn't a research vessel," Xendaris said slowly, his voice hollow with realization. "This is a seed ship." But even that understanding paled in comparison to what Crixtal discovered next. "Commander, I'm detecting similar energy signatures throughout this sector. Passive sensors only, but the pattern is unmistakable." The tactical display updated, showing dozens of identical energy signatures scattered across local space. Ships that had been invisible to their sensors until now, each one broadcasting the same carefully masked transmission that had led them to believe the Wanderer's hope was alone and disabled. "They're all here," Zendaris whispered. "How many?" "Preliminary count suggests 217 vessels, sir. All identical to this one. All carrying the same cargo." Zendaris staggered backward from the display, his mind reeling with the implications. 217 ships, each carrying 12,000 carefully selected humans and the complete genetic and cultural heritage of their species. More than 2.5 million humans scattered across space in vessels designed to look helpless and disabled. Zendaris found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a croak. You're evacuating your entire species." Director Vasquez nodded grimly. "When the hegemony first demanded our surrender, our governments began this project. Not as a retreat, but as insurance. Every ship you see contains everything necessary to rebuild human civilization from scratch, scattered across enough space that no single military action could eliminate us all." The tactical display updated again, showing the true scope of human movement throughout the galaxy. The seed ships weren't clustered in one region, they were dispersed across hundreds of star systems, each one far enough from the others that destroying one would have no impact on the rest. "But this is just the beginning," Director Vasquez continued, and for the first time, Zendaris heard something almost like pity in her voice. "You see, Commander, we didn't just preserve our people and our culture. We preserved our memories. Every act of aggression the hegemony has committed, every world you've conquered, every species you've enslaved or destroyed." New data began flooding the hegemony ship's communications array, not from the seed ships, but from hidden transmitters throughout hegemony space. The humans hadn't just been evacuating, they'd been documenting, recording, gathering evidence. "The hegemony believes in rule through fear," Director Vasquez said. "But we've learned something important about fear. It only works as long as your victims believe you're invincible. We're about to broadcast the complete record of your crimes to every species in the galaxy, along with detailed intelligence about your military capabilities, political structure, and strategic weaknesses." Zendaris watched in horror as the communication array showed the breadth of the human intelligence network. They had infiltrated every level of hegemony society, not as spies seeking to steal technology, but as witnesses documenting the truth. "Every species you've conquered is about to learn that the mighty hegemony couldn't even prevent a primitive species from walking away from their empire with complete impunity," Director Vasquez explained. "How long do you think your rule will last, once your subjects realize you're not the invincible force you pretend to be?" The fatal mistake was clear now. The hegemony had assumed humanity would fight like every other species defending their worlds, their governments, their military installations. Instead, the humans had done something unprecedented. They had simply left, taking everything that mattered with them and leaving behind only the knowledge that would bring down their enemies. "You wanted to conquer humanity," Director Vasquez said, her image beginning to fade as the seed ships prepared to disperse to their final destinations. "Instead, you've given us the greatest gift possible, the knowledge that we never needed to fight you at all. We just needed to outlast you." As the human ships vanished into hyperspace, carrying with them the future of their species and the doom of the hegemony, Commander Zendaris realized the terrible truth. They hadn't been fighting a war. They had been attending their own funeral.